I'm Tom McLaughlin, and this is Epic Woodworking, and we're glad to have you stop by the shop. I want to tell you why you need one of these guys. This is called a holdfast. These were really popular pre-modern vices. Around the mid-1800s, modern vices came into play, and these were everywhere, and they started to dwindle in use. But they have a very real place in the on your modern bench. And I want to show you why you need it. And I am also going to share with you an unbelievable kind of revolutionary workbench that I learned about while I was at Pug Moore. So stick around for that. But here we are. I've got my brand new workbench, which I've been talking about a little bit, and I've been thoroughly enjoying so far with my, speaking of modern vices. But I have been wanting to add holdfast as a feature in this bench. And this is like a super fast clamping method for the top of your bench. And to install them, all you have to do is drill a hole. All right, we can do that, right? The challenge is we want to make sure we drill that hole vertically, okay, 90 degrees pretty much. You could eyeball it, but into this beautiful bench, I'm not so sure I want to. Now, we're going to drill the hole vertically, and we're going to drill a 3/4 inch hole. And the reason for that is we're going to use this style of holdfast primarily with my bench. This is a Gramercy Tools holdfast. It's not forged, but it's actually cold bent, it's cold bent steel, which leaves a really nice strong spring to it. It's actually quite ingenious, and they're beautiful holdfasts. They're the modern method. This is a forge. These are still available, and this is like a hand forged holdfast. It works beautifully. In fact, this was my holdfast for years at my own back in North Carolina. I still got the old masking tape on it.
You can tell.
This masking tape and this holdfast, I haven't used it for over 25 years. It's been stored away in the infamous attic. But I would like to use it again, but I discovered it's a little larger diameter than 3/4. So I only want to drill 3/4 inch holes on my bench. So I'm going to save this for my revolutionary bench I'm going to share with you later, because the holes are already drilled for this in that. But I'll show you that more later. For now, I just want you to see this is a hand forged style. Now, we made a link to, we also gave you a link to an Etsy website where I found this guy in Connecticut making these gorgeous hand forged holdfasts, which it looks like, I think you drill out a 3/4 inch hole. You might have to ream it out a little. I think he said it's a little larger. You might even get it and be able to sand down the shaft a little if it's a little heavy, but whatever. They're gorgeous. They're really nice looking. They're a little more money. Like, I think the Gramercy sells for about 25 bucks because it's more easily made. The forged ones are about 75 bucks, but they look so classic. You're gonna maybe want one on your bench. I don't know, but I'm going with these pretty much because I don't feel like drilling an extra hole. All right, so we've got those links. You can check it out. By the way, the guy in Connecticut who's selling the hand forged, I think it's McCarthy Forges. I noticed he's now selling them in pairs. So you probably want a pair, 150 bucks. But all right.
Do you know how these compare to the Lie-Nielsen's that they offer?
You know what? I'm sorry, I don't. Somebody will have to look up. I did searches on holdfast before, and Lie-Nielsen didn't pop up, so I wasn't aware of it. So you got to be careful though. You just got to make sure you drill the holes for the shank, or when you're buying them, make sure you don't, like if you already have 3/4 inch holes in your bench, make sure it's not a 1 inch shank, because there are 1 inch shank holdfasts out there. Some of them are like behemothly huge, and some are cast. The cast ones tend to be not as good. I would either go hand forged or the Gramercy type. I just like them more. So someone can chime in. Tell us about the Lie-Nielsen. What diameter are they? And also, are they hand forged? And what's the price? If you guys throw that up on there and let everybody check it out. I would like to know myself. All right, so moment of truth. I'm gonna put
Yikes.
a hole, or maybe two, in my bench. I've been resisting this because it's so nice. I get it all nice and finished. But I know I'm going to really enjoy the fruits of this. Now, in order to do this, like I said, we're going to drill a 1-inch hole. I ended up buying a good bit because I didn't have a Brad Point style 3/4 inch drill bit. So I wanted to get a nice clean hole and have it work well. So we provided the link for that as well. I just got this one off of Amazon. It was about 25 bucks. I think on Prime, 26 now on Prime. And then you're gonna need a guide collar or sleeve. I forget what else they're called. A drill sleeve. I forget what it is. Someone remind me, but the name. But we also added the link for this little guy too. And this is about 12 or 13. So the two of these things will set you back 40 bucks. But you gotta drill holes.
Do it right. Do it right.
Right? So I'm gonna do this. Let's practice a little bit first. And this is a mock-up of the thickness of the bench top. This is also soft maple. We're drilling through soft maple here, and it's 2.5 inches thick. Now, the bench, if you were part of the course, you know that inner field, the way I drew it, the way I built this one, is 2.5 inches thick. But then I bordered it with 4 inches of stock. So, okay. So we're just going to test and set up our drilling and make sure we got it set up on this one here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just clamp this board to the bench. Now this is the way you have to do it when you don't have a holdfast, right? You gotta clamp it like this, and it's kind of a pain, and it's pretty slow. But this will no more be my method after I get this in. You're gonna love this, I'm telling you. So here's gonna be my guide. So I went to the drill press earlier, and I had a Forstner bit, a 7/8 Forstner. I clamped this piece of pine to the bench, the drill press, and came down with the 7/8 Forstner because the outside diameter of the sleeve is 7/8. The inside is a little over 3/4, so that bit can slide. Now, one edge of this has an eased edge, the other is sharper. You want the eased edge out. So then you're just gonna take it, and I know that this hole was drilled pretty plumb, and then it just slides right in to the 7/8 hole. Now I have my guiding sleeve is gonna help me just run that drill bit perpendicular. So this is my jig for drilling holes in my bench. So now let's just bring it out, and we'll drill a practice hole right out off the side here. Actually, I need to move my clamp. Man, I wish I had a holdfast.
It's coming.
What?
It's coming.
Yeah.
The word you were looking for was a bushing.
Bushing. Okay, bushing. Thank you. All right. So let's get another clamp over here.
$95 at Lie-Nielsen, Bruce said.
For a set?
Bruce said.
Is it forged, or does he know?
Let me see if he gives
Okay.
me more info.
All right, that's all right. Okay, so I'm going to use my old Makita. I sure hope this hangs in there. But we're going to just drill a practice hole, make sure we get all the bugs worked out. Okay, so I'm just going to let it kind of guide itself in the sleeve and go for it. And I'm not putting anything on the other side. I'm just going to drill straight through and see what happens. Whoops, my sleeve is coming up. I need long sleeves. Sorry. Okay. You know what? Once you get going, it almost doesn't matter. It starts to track right where you want it anyway. So now you don't necessarily have to use a sleeve. You may have seen me in the past just drill into hardwood. And the hardwood itself, you just drill the hole with your bit that you're going to bore your hole with, and it'll just be guided enough with that hardwood. So you could get away without buying the sleeve if you're only doing a few. Okay.
You know the speed you were using? Is it possible that going slower would make it a little?
I don't think that's a problem. Okay. I like to start kind of fast just to score the edge, especially with a brad point. But no, that's not a problem. Let's see what happened. See what kind of hole we got here. Oh, there we are. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? We got all that fractured, blasted out edge. That's tear out. That's what happens when the hole is not supported from the back. You know, I don't feel like clamping something under this negative space here to try to clamp wherever I'm going to put these holes for the holdfast. So I'm going to use a different method. I'm going to use a method where I'll have a stop so that the bit can run through and it'll be stopped before the edges of the spur hit, but the point will penetrate and show where it's poking through. Then I'll try, once I get that, I'll find where that hole is on the underside, and then I'll come back through from the bottom and just skin that last little bit that didn't get cut. And we'll see, let's just do a test on that right now and see if that works. That's an old trick I learned in shop class when I was 14 years old. Mr. Lavoie came back to me. All right, here we go. What I'm gonna do is move over next to this hole. We'll do a second one and see if we can eliminate that blowout. All right. While I'm doing this, hey, I've got my Epic Woodworker cap. We don't do a lot of swag like promos. We don't really make a lot of it.
So cute.
My hair is kind of needing cut. I felt like wearing it the whole time. But I wanted to show you the cap because we're doing a little thing that the camera lady has geniusly tagged or named Swag Tag. Huh? Uh-huh. She likes a good little name.
Brilliant.
You got a lot of them. She came up with the neighborhood. What else? You have a long list of fun names.
Yeah, many that will never see the light of day, thankfully.
All right, so I just want to tell you about that because we have a little fun contest going on of photographing yourself in some interesting, perhaps exotic location. Maybe you're traveling in the month of August or something. And if you don't have any swag, this is a good time to pick it up. And you can get a photo of yourself and enter it into the contest. And Carol, what do they win?
Well, that is yet to be determined. Probably, well, we'll let them know. August 15th is the day that we're going to assign it. It's a Thursday. It's a Shop Night Live. We'll do
All
it then. But if you post it, tag us in the post and use that hashtag Epic Swag tag.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a hat. It could be the shirt or whatever, just with the Epic logo
Blue
in
bucket
the
kit, whatever. And there's
You can wear your apron.
There's details in the description. You'll see there's a link to all the details.
Coffee mug, all that good stuff.
Anything.
All right.
We've already posted several. It's been fun.
Yeah, we've got some fun ones already. So that's a little fun, summer fun for us. All right, so let's go ahead with the other one. Now, I want to drill through here, but I want to just poke out the other side. So if I hold this bit if I come down and I rest on the shoulder right there of the collar, I'm going to get a measurement on how far that bit is sticking below the piece, okay? I'm going to set right there, and there it is. Okay, I'm sticking below like 2 3/16, okay? So what I'm going to do is use the poor man's stop. You could put one of those fancy dancy collars on there that has an Allen wrench and lock it in like a metal collar. Or you could just dimension some stock 2 1/8 thick, like this block here, and drill a hole in it, and then just slide it over the bit. And this becomes your stop, okay? So that's gonna stop me. The block's gonna hit here, and hopefully I have just a little point out the other end. If not, I'll have to extend the bit slightly. All right, so here we go. Let's try this again. I'm gonna get my...
Tom, did you consider using a plunge router with a 3/4 inch spiral bit for making?
Yeah, yes, I would. I would like to do that. I just don't have one. And but that would make a wonderful hole, a nice plunge bit. So yeah, if you want to make them that way, that'd be ultra true and square. It's not, it doesn't have to be that perfect, but look, we're getting them pretty darn close here, right? Here we go. Oh, get another clamp on here. All right, see what happened? All right, so let's look on the underside. Oh boy, we just barely have it popping through. All right, I may just trim a little off my stop, but there it is, that little impression right there. So all I have to do is, I should probably clamp this just to check it.
Kind of mysterious in there. Do you see? I don't see the. Oh, there's the point.
Here, if you back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Hold it. No, let me get the awl, I'll show you.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's it. Let's see what happens. I'm just gonna go nice and light, but I wanna get some speed here so it shears cleanly. Oh, I kind of missed. It's a little off. You know what I'm gonna do? It's a good thing we did a test. I'm gonna trim, rather than extend the bit, I'm gonna trim a little off my stop. Hang on a second. Just go over to the bandsaw. Just trim a little off it so we get a little more. We want to see a little more of that. All right, let's try it one more time. We've got to master this. I'm hoping my bench, I'm trying to remember if I got to 2.5 or I left it a little thick. I can't remember when we built the bench. If I made mine, a little.
So would tape help on the bottom with the tear out, Tom?
Not really. Not this kind of force going through. It's the bottom, so technically I wouldn't worry about it, but come on, I don't want that on my beautiful bench. I can't have that. So let's try this one more time. We will set up our sleeve. I think using white pine.
We're all for you, Tom.
Oh, thanks. Is that you or somebody saying that?
Well, it's me.
I'm okay. I'm
But I
happy.
can feel it from your friends here.
Okay, let's do this again. This is why we make test cuts. We got to get this solved so we have a good experience on the bench. All right, that felt good. Let's see if we're all the way through. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so now we can see a very definite hole. Last time we really didn't have a good one. So now we'll just come in with the bit. And I just find it and just let it rest in there, and I'm going to start spinning. There we go. That's much cleaner. Nice and smooth. Okay. So that's what we want. Now you see the result. We have a nice... Oh.
That's a real bummer.
That was the model I was going to show you.
Oh.
It just shattered on the floor. Hang on a second. Oh my gosh. It's on like 18 pieces. Shoot.
It's the
all right.
model.
I got another one over
here.
here.
The actual one.
This one has a little more of an overhang. Okay.
Stay.
All right, so there we have it. Let's go ahead and make a hole in the bench. Now, hey, besides the unbelievable revolutionary bench, I'm going to show you how the splay leg table looks at this point. I've got it clamped up, and we're in a class right now. We've got this class for this splay leg table going. This is now the model, like the one that just fell off and shattered. Want to look at it? Go ahead. Show them it on the floor.
Sad. It's like Humpty
It's very
Dumpty.
sad. Bad joinery on that. I just had it glued together. But it looks sort of like this, but I didn't have as much overhang on that model as this one. So just imagine less. But the table, I'm going to show you it in walnut in just a minute. But let's go ahead. I'm going to put this somewhere safer over here. All right, so let's work on the real bench. Now, let's locate where we want to put one of these holes. The first hole in the bench. Now, if you've been watching for a while, you know I like to chop dovetails from the end of the bench here. I like sitting here and chopping away. And I've been clamping here, but ideally, sometimes you could bring in a holdfast from the side, you know, here or here. I wanted something like that to clamp, say this is sort of like drawer sides, this is the material. But if I could come down, say, and just hit it like in that position, that would give me plenty of room for some wider stock. So let's, I'm going to go over right about there. Let's just measure. It doesn't have to be perfect because you can always drill another hole. I mean, not right next to that one you just did. I think I'm going to come over 9 inches on this one. Is that far enough? Yeah, I want a little closer. I'll go 8.5. And so I'm going to go over 8.5. Get my pencil. Just put a little mark at 8.5. Now, I'm going to come this way, but I have to be careful of my leg. My leg is 6 inches in from the end, so I stop right at 6, okay? So I want to come back. If I came back at 5.5, that would only give me 1/8 of an inch away from the leg. Let's come back to 5 3/8. I'll just use my square here. I'll come back 5 3/8. I can get close to that leg there. Okay, so now I bring it up, and I'm going to make a little mark this way. There we go. X marks the spot. There's the first infamous hole So let's put an awl mark in there.
Lots of good ideas on the chat on how to avoid the tear out.
Oh yeah, there's lots of ways. Underneath, like here though, it's such a... I just got to check something. Okay, my side is 4. And I'm up, yeah, 1.5 inches, so I should be fine. Here we go. Now let's set it up. We got our sleeve. I'm gonna bring this in. Let's just get I'm just gonna set this into the dent I made. Make sure I don't have any junk under there.
This is unnerving a bit.
It is?
How are you feeling?
How am I feeling? I'm fine. There's a lot of harder things than this in the world.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna just clamp. I put this on a longer piece because I may want to put some holes out in the middle when I get down the bench a little more, so we can span a long way with that. All right, we're locked in. We're ready to go. Everything seems good. We've done our test. Let's see how it goes. Hold on a second. Just gotta let those chips clear. This is the floating sleeve here. There we are. Oops.
Beauty of live.
Yeah, and it's the first one. You know, you got to work out the kinks with anything, but you know, I could have put this, maybe if I put it in a harder material, and then you could epoxy it in too if you really wanted to. But sorry, I got to clear it again. This is, I think I've got just harder wood in the bench than what I used on my mock-up. Okay, here it is. Wow.
We're drilling for gold.
I know. All right, let's, hopefully we've got a little impression on the bottom. I'm gonna check it out. You don't have to get down there with me. I'm just gonna look and see what it looks like. Should be right about here. Oh yeah. It's a perfect little, just like we showed. I'm gonna do the same thing, but upside down here. There it is. Nicely cleared. There it is. Nice, clean, 90-degree-ish hole.
Nice.
All right, so let's give it a try.
It's a beauty.
Let's bring up our stock. Yeah, it's not too obtrusive, right? Bring up your mallet. Get your Gramercy. Looks pretty good. And so if I was going to clamp something here, I drop it down, locked in. All right,
Wow.
This is the beauty. Now, this workbench in particular, from what I've been reading, 2.5 inches thick is near ideal in a lot of the descriptions. So that's going to be a great thickness. And then you just smack it on the side and it comes free. What happens is this steel is springing. It's a little loose in the hole. This shaft on this holdfast is like a 32nd less than 3/4 of an inch. Or for those of you over over the pond, you've told me I should translate into millimeters. It's about 0.6 of a millimeter, less than 3/4 of an inch. What's 3/4 of an inch? I'm sorry, I don't know it right. But you do the math. All right, so there we are. When you drop it in, there's that little bit of play. And what happens is it kind of wedges, and you drive this, and it springs. It puts tremendous pressure there so that this is like locked in so fast. And then just knock it, and you're free. So not all of this fiddling. And you think about the range that these have. You know, you're thinking when you put one down, it covers all of this area, okay? I could use it over here. I could use it straight ahead, or obviously over here as I have. So I'll probably put another one up here, maybe in the middle-ish of the bench, and it'll cover all that area, you know? So I love this. We'll just be judicious about it at first, and I may even drill one over here in parallel so we can pop in perhaps a stop, an accessory stop, or sometimes a little special jig. Or maybe your sharpening board has a dowel on it. You can drop it in there and have it so you can use them for other reasons as well. All right, well, I love it. I hope you're sold on the value of holdfast, but I just want to show you two things now. Thanks for sticking around. The revolutionary workbench that I learned about at Pug Moore's. Some of you don't know, but I apprenticed in North Carolina and Rocky Mount. In 1990, I entered Pug Moore's shop for the first time. And when I walked in, one of the first things I noticed were the workbenches, because it wasn't a huge shop. It was actually quite a bit smaller than what I have right here.
Much smaller.
And there were 4 men, one in each corner. And each one had a workbench. But they were not your typical big workbenches. They were like this. I made a copy of it and put it in my shop. It was like this. Isn't that kind of cool? So this pipe, you know what? I know there's kind of funny ways people measure pipe, but this is that heavy black pipe. The outside diameter is 3.5 inches. So someone can chat in and tell me, how do you describe that? Is that considered a 3 or a 4-inch pipe? I think it's 3, but it's weird because it's 3.5 inches outside diameter. But see how it's threaded on the bottom? So it was cut, it was welded on, that little threading. So what these benches, how they were mounted was they were set into the concrete floor. They would smash a hole in the floor and dig a hole and to some depth. And then this welder, friend of theirs, and also the one I visited, he built the female side of that thread on like a long piece of pipe, and he welded on these little posts sticking out. So I dropped that into my floor, and I got that flange or female threaded part in plane with the concrete in my shop in Wilson, and then steadied it all perpendicular and then filled it in with concrete. So it got level with the top of the floor. So then you would come up and you would take this post and you would thread it in just like this. Okay? Now the post at the top of it, you've probably already seen, it has this rectangular box that's welded on the corners. And all that does is it gives you a really solid place to anchor the vise. So it has not only the box, but on this one side, it has the angle, the flange coming up. And that's all like heavy, feels like heavier than 1/4 inch. So all you do is you mount the traditional iron type vise to it. And this was my quick release. This is another Jorgensen, like the one that was on my old bench. And with this in the floor like that, it's rock solid. So what you have is you have a vise up in space like this. And they're really helpful for, working around. If you're working on chairs, they were especially good because you could just go around anywhere. You were not restricted and work something from any angle. So really amazing there. But you might be saying, okay, that's cool. You got a vise, but what about a bench? You have nowhere to put your stuff. Well, we did have like a back bench, but the bench that we used, when you wanted a bench top, you would bring out the jaws like this, and all you used was this. This was a piece of poplar.
Oh.
This thing's heavy. I'm gonna set this down.
Okay.
All right, so
We don't need another catastrophe.
you gotta open the jaws, right? And these blocks are just glued to the bottom. And I'll just do it on my new bench to show you. So just imagine if this were that vise. You would just open up wide enough, and this auxiliary top dropped in, pushed it forward, and then you just clamp this top on the top of that post. Okay? So now you have, this was the workbench. Believe it or not, this was the size of a lot of the workbenches. And we got a lot of work done. Now you may say, well, now what? Well, look at the holes. I've got 6 holes on here. And this is the bench that I use this holdfast on. I have not used this since 1997, right?
Wow.
We packed it up and moved north, but this is how it goes. Now, this one wasn't exactly 90 degrees, so I drilled the holes a little at an angle so this would land roughly flat. And you can knock it in there and then smack it, and it locks, see? Same thing. But this is more the classic, forged top. But imagine this on that post. You could walk around the whole thing. It's really ingenious, and it was the first thing I noticed. And it was weird how we were not stuck for room. You'd have auxiliary tables where you set up stuff, but this is what you worked on. And with these holdfast holes, you could clamp most anything to this bench.
Pretty cool.
So you get used to things, but what I plan to do is I've got to get another flange, because unfortunately the female flange that was threaded into stayed in the floor when we moved. So I have no way to set this up right now. I'll have to get some kind of welded flange and then maybe put it on a plate and bolt it to the floor. But I would like to have this as an accessory bench, maybe right over there when I'm working on chairs or something like that, okay? So that's the handy little top. Just to give you a perspective, I'll quickly give you the measurements of this. It's 14 1/4 by 36 3/4, all right? It's amazing what you can do on that bench. I have such fond memories, and man, it brings me back to my days with Pug. Now, hey, I was telling you about the course we got going on now. If you're interested, it's not too late. We've only had 2 sessions. We're gonna go probably 6, but it's a really fun course because it's including these splayed legs, which they make it enough complication, add enough complication that it really does sharpen your skills and thinking as you approach building a little table like this with a drawer. So this was designed to go underneath the game top, and if the camera lady would just spin around, you could check it out. This is the walnut table. This is in walnut. So I haven't glued up the base yet, but those in the class have already seen it coming together, but this is the first time they've actually seen what it's gonna look like. So there you have it. It's got a nice 3-degree or splay, or you could say 93 degrees. And then when this top gets attached, it's gonna make for a really sweet little game table. It's only 28 inches high and has a little 1.25 overhang so that those legs splay out a little beyond that slightly. So you end up with a nice kind of strong stance, and it's light, but it'll be strong, and then it's gonna have a nice 2 3/8 inch slim kind of drawer to come out to hold your game pieces and whatnot.
Yeah, just to clarify, the top is not part of the course.
No.
That's explained in the description, and I put a link to it in the description below.
Right. You could just make, this is a 22-inch square. You, of course, could change the dimensions with the drawing. You can make it a larger table if you'd like, but I just like it at this proportion. One of the first projects I built with Pug was actually a table similar to that to go under a marble chest top that this woman had brought over.
It looks like an easy project, but the angles complicate everything.
Yeah.
And you have to think differently.
They have complicated
Tom,
a little bit.
how thick is that auxiliary bench there?
Oh, it's just made out of 8/4 stock. I think it's, it's right at 2 inches thick. So it was probably a little heavier than that in the rough. I just dressed it to that. So it works well with holdfast, obviously at 2 inches thick, but it was light enough to take on and off. We would just flip it out of the way when you wanted to work straight with a vise or whatever. It was pretty amazing.
By the way, Jack and Bruce commented that the measurement is determined by the interior diameter, so it's 3 inches.
Okay, thank you guys. All right, that solves that. So it's a 3-inch pipe. I've just got to get the new fitting.
Yeah, so good.
All right, everyone. Well, hey, if you enjoy this content, please consider liking, sharing, and most of all, subscribing. And while you're at it, hit that bell, because every time we post a video, you'll get a little notification of that. And also, check out the website at epicwoodworking.com. That's where you can get that swag for the swag tag. But more than that, the courses. I think that's really the backbone of what we do here. The courses are trying to recreate my experience with Pug. And we've got almost 25 of them now. We just keep adding. And this live course is the next one in line. So you can sign up for that course or just check them out. Join the neighborhood and you get access to all the courses. Love to have you part of the neighborhood. We have a great community chatting it up on the forum as well.
Yeah.
So thank you once again for hanging out with us a little bit for tonight. I've got some holes to drill. We've gone long enough, I think, but thanks again. We couldn't do this without you.
Yes.
We look forward to seeing you next time. On behalf of the camera lady and myself, we'll see you then. How do I normally end it? I go, we'll see you next time right back here on Shop Night Live.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thanks so much.
I didn't even yell. I can't.
Take care.